Anyway, we'd like to welcome everyone to our budget summit, and well, the process is basically going to be this. Mayor Kriseman is going to say a few opening remarks, and then we're going to have Tom Greene, our budget director, will kind of give you a synopsis of where we are with the budget, and then we're going to sit and listen to you, and then we'll close with some comments. We'd like you, when you do come up, there's a microphone right there in front, and make sure that you can speak into it. Some of us older folks are having a hard time hearing. And anyway, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mayor Kriseman for a few opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad you weren't referring to me when you were talking about the older folks. Good evening, everyone, and it may be raining outside, but as we always like to say, here in St. Petersburg, the sun is always shining. For those of you who have been to these summits previously, I'm going to just apologize in advance for, you may hear me make some of the same comments, but there are a lot of new faces, and I'm really happy, as much as I enjoy seeing those who I've seen before. It's nice to see new faces here too tonight, because it gives us an opportunity to hear what you all are interested in, and what you all would like to see in the budget. And you know, this, as I've said before, this budget is and will be a reflection of our vision for the city. We have tried to design a budget that reflects our values and our priorities, and this forum provides all of us that are up here with an opportunity to hear where we are at this point in time, but also to hear what's important to you all. So before our budget team leads you through a discussion of the budget, I did want to make a few opening remarks. I have asked every department in the city in preparing their budget for FY15 to complete the following things. I wanted an inventory of the services provided and the percentage of their respective budget that's invested to provide that service. I wanted a review of, and if necessary, a restatement of their mission and their performance measures. And I wanted a 3 to 5 year look at the challenges and opportunities they'll face and the potential solutions to those challenges or opportunities. Additionally, we asked each of the departments to assign a value and these strategic pathways from our collective vision that apply to that service, that measure and that challenge or opportunity. And I'm pleased with the responses that we've received from all the departments and the inventory of services that was provided, and it will be provided in the information that's been given to council. As far as some of our funding priorities, I want to go over a few of those with you all, let you know what some additions that we've done to the budget this year. In marketing, we've invested an additional $700,000 to increase our marketing activities, to assist with economic development activities around arts and culture, tourism, and quality of life initiatives. Housing in neighborhoods is a big priority of my administration, and as such, we've invested an additional $350,000 to address improvements in our housing stock, in particular in South St. Pete. We also are funding 3 additional code investigators because we recognize the value that codes plays in trying to advance our neighborhood strategies. We've invested an additional $100,000 in planning and economic development to increase our business recruiting activities, or as I like to call it, external economic development recruiting, which is to have the resources we need so that we can try and go outside and attract new businesses and new jobs to bring into this community. We've also invested an additional $50,000 in the greenhouse to focus on small business development, on assistance, and equally important, on retention. We don't want to just develop new businesses, we want to retain those new small businesses. We've also increased arts funding by an additional $100,000 over the $175,000 that we have in the budget. So we've added a total of $275,000 this year for arts and cultural arts funding. And this can be used for mini grants programs or other services. And we are working on, aside from general fund revenues, we're looking at some other options and opportunities to add additional funding outside of the general fund for the arts. We also want to make sure we continue to invest in our largest asset, which is the men and women who provide outstanding service to the residents. So we are including a salary increase this year. Those resources are currently in the contingency line, and the final amount will be the subject of negotiations, which are ongoing right now at the various collective bargaining units. Additionally, we are investing in our reserves and you may recall Tom Greene, for those of you who've been to the prior meetings, talking about our reserve funds and the importance of getting those to a level that doesn't impact negatively our ability to borrow money at higher rates than we need to. And given that we've got the pier project coming up and a new police station, we need to be able to borrow money as efficiently and cheaply as possible, so we have to keep a real close eye on our reserves. So we are going to be putting some money and transferring it into Economic Stability Fund. Those are just a few of the priorities that I wanted to highlight. There are other things that we are looking at funding this year. We are identifying, given that the last meeting we were at, we were still hoping that the governor would sign the budget, and he vetoed it. And that was a significant hit that potentially would have gone to create jobs and improve education. So we are looking for ways to replace those resources with additional resources in this budget because we still value moving the Agenda 2020 items forward. But I thank you all again for attending, and I look forward to finalizing my recommended budget and submitting it to Council on July 1st.
Thank you, Mayor. Tom Greene, our budget director.
Good evening. Welcome again to the third and final budget summit for the fiscal year 15 budget development. As the mayor mentioned, we are in the waning hours of developing the mayor's fiscal 15 budget. It's due to council on July 1. And Deborah, if we could advance a couple of slides, I would like to move forward. One more, please, I think. Oh, yeah, let me set it up. For those of you who attended our first two summits, we're using this opportunity to kind of compare the city's budget to our personal finances. So at the first summit, as the mayor mentioned, we talked about, or maybe at the second summit, we talked about the use of the reserves and how that impacts the budget of the city and impacts our potential credit rating. At our first summit, we talked about why does the city use so many funds in their budgeting? And we showed how, maybe our general fund is similar to your checking account at home. So we've kind of reviewed and compared the city's budget to personal finances, and we're going to continue doing that tonight, where we're going to talk about the general fund of our of the city's budget. I noticed a lot of familiar faces, but I was going to ask a pop quiz, so I think I'll put that off because maybe I'll come back to that in just a minute. So Deborah, if you could advance the slide, please. Very quickly, before we get into the presentation, I wanted to tell you where we are with the development of the 15 budget. We did get some very good news from the Pinellas County property appraiser. I guess in May, when we did our presentation to council at the workshop, we had a budget, projected budget deficit or gap of about 4.3 million, 4.1 million actually. We got some good news from the property appraiser that said that property values are increasing by nearly 7%, 6.98%, generates additional ad valorem revenues to the city, shrinking our projected budget gap to about 1.3 million. So we've got a little bit more work to do over the next 2 weeks to shore up that that shortfall between our projected revenues and our projected expenses, but I'm very confident that we'll get there, and when the mayor submits his budget on July 1 to council, it will address the priorities as he's outlined and be balanced for the fiscal year. Next slide, please, Deborah. So tonight we wanted to talk about the general fund. And to do this, or to facilitate this discussion, we're going to look at last year's budget because that's already been adopted. And we can point to the examples within the 14 budget that will be very similar in structure to the 15 budget. But let's walk through very quickly of the general fund. Essentially, the core services of the city are provided through our general fund. So you see we have public safety, police and fire protection are provided through our general fund. You see leisure services, parks and rec, this facility that we're sitting in tonight is funded through our general fund. Libraries also falls into that area of leisure services. You also see neighborhood affairs, which is a newly reestablished in 15 for our city, and that provides neighborhood grants, codes compliance, housing. Those type of services are funded through our general fund. You also see city development, so economic development, the greenhouse, transportation management. These are all services provided through our general fund. And then you see the last two, general government, that would be the mayor's office, city council, our office for the budget department, finance, audit services are all kind of core services provided by and paid for through our general fund. And then you see Public Works Administration. The vast majority of Public Works are enterprise funds, but they do have some portions of their budget that is funded through the general fund, which is street lights, traffic control, and the procurement department. So if we flip to the next slide, and again, I mentioned that we are looking at last year's, or this current year's budget because it is adopted and these are actuals were adopted by council. So if you look at this slide, it shows the sources of revenues for our general fund. Our general fund for this year was budgeted at $212,143,000. Now, the largest portion of the revenues that come into the general fund are from ad valorem taxes or from property taxes that we pay. You see that is $82.2 million, and that is roughly 39% of the total revenue that comes into the general fund. The next largest component is the $59.9 million of other taxes, and then you see intergovernmental revenues of $25.9, charges for services, fines and forfeitures, interest, G&A and pilot, and transfers. So these are the different sources that come into and help fund the general fund. Now, Deborah, if you could forward the slide, what I wanted to do was compare or explain and show where these sources of revenues might impact our individual budgets at home. So for example, we all know the ad valorem portion, we all pay our property taxes. That's, I think everybody pretty much follows that one. Now in the other taxes, there are certain taxes that the city collects through utility bills, for example, on your water resources bill, sanitation, utility bills for Duke Energy. Those would show up in that other quadrant called other taxes, cell phone bill as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. Then we have charges for services, and those would be, if you bring your son or daughter to a rec center for after school, those would be charges that are rec center charge, fees at the pool, parking meters, those type of revenues kind of fall into that charges for services category. Next, we have fines and forfeitures. Raise your hand if you got a parking ticket. I know I've gotten my fair share. So fines and forfeitures, parking tickets, late fees at the library, traffic tickets, those type of revenues come into our general fund through fines and forfeitures. Then we have intergovernmental revenues, half-cent sales taxes, local option fuel taxes, kind of feed into our general fund through those sources. General administrative charges, it's an internal charge that we charge to other departments for the services. For example, our department is the budget department for the entire city, so we have departments that use our services, and so those we've come up with a methodology of allocating those costs amongst the different departments so that we can accurately reflect the charges and the cost of providing those different services. And then we have transfers into the general fund, and that could be return on investment or return on inequity that we get back from some of our enterprise funds on an annual basis, and then fund our general fund government. Next slide, Deborah. This is an interesting slide that we used last year at the public hearing for the fiscal 14 budget that I wanted to share with everyone. What we've tried to do is illustrate where your ad valorem, your property tax dollars go on an annual basis. Now, we've had to make some assumptions, so let me set up the assumptions. We've assumed a property value, taxable assessed value of $150,000 with the full $50,000 homestead exemption for all taxing authorities except for the school district, because only the first $25,000 counts towards the school district. But so if we assume those are our underlying assumptions, 40 cents on every dollar that you pay on your total property tax bill goes to the school district. There are two different charges or two different taxes for the school district. One is for their operation, one is for their debt. So that makes up 40%. 27 cents on every dollar comes to the city of St. Petersburg, and our fiscal policies, the city's fiscal policies dictate that every penny of that ad valorem revenue be first applied to the expenses of providing public safety. And within that public safety, chief among those is the police department. So we apply 100% of your property taxes paid to the city to fund our police department. In just a minute, I'll show you the slide that shows how much we're able to cover of the police department's expenses from your annual property taxes. And then as we move across the dollar bill, you see that 21 cents of every dollar goes to Pinellas County for the operations of their government. And then you see on the far right, it's kind of chopped up really small, but 12% or 12 cents of every dollar go to fund Southwest Florida Water Management District, Pinellas Planning Council, JWB, PSTA, all these other entities within the county that have a taxing authority within our county. So that's how your tax dollars are allocated based on that $100,000 of assessed value. Now, if we flip to the next slide, please, Deborah. This shows, going back from 2008 to 2014, the red bar illustrates the police, the expense of police department, and then the blue bar represents what we collect as a city from ad valorem property taxes. So if you see in 14, we had 81.7 million in ad valorem revenues and a police department budget of 90 million. It's about 90% of that budget we're able to cover with your property taxes. If you look backwards and you look at 2008, you see we had a very different scenario where we had 100 million in ad valorem revenues, property taxes, and only 86 million in police expenses. So what this illustrates a couple of things. You see that although our property taxes are improving, we've still got some long way to go to where we used to be prior to the Great Recession starting in 2008. So we've got some room to grow as we move forward. And I should point out that at some point prior to 2008, the ad valorem revenues were pledged towards both police and fire. But as you know, as those revenues started to shrink, our fiscal policies were changed to only pledge those revenues to the police department. Now, this is an interesting slide that illustrates how we invest the city's monies based on by type. So if you see, our largest investment, as the mayor mentioned earlier, is in the men and women who provide the various services to the city. 71% of our general fund budget in 2014 was dedicated to wages, salary, and benefits. The next largest was operating expenses at 21%, capital outlay and social services at 2%, and then transfer and debt at 6%. Next slide, Deborah. And again, we wanted to try to illustrate where this might impact your budget at home. So, for example, our personnel, the city's personnel costs might be equivalent to your expenses at home of providing health insurance and contribution to your retirement plans, schooling, daycare. Those type of expenses would be similar to our personnel costs with the city. Similarly, with operating expenses, in our budgets at home, we've got operating expenses, food, utility, fuel for your car, clothing. Those type of expenses would be your operating expenses. And then capital outlay for the city, if we need to replace desks or chairs or something like that. In your home budget, you've got to replace washer and dryer. You've got to purchase a car, oven, stove, those type of things. And then finally, our transfers and debt might be similar to your mortgage or your rent payment on a monthly basis. Next slide, Joe. Now, this breaks down the investment in the general fund by the 5 administrations that were in existence in the fiscal 14 budget. And you see the vast majority, or 58% of our investment, is in providing the fire and police protection to the city, followed by leisure services, and so parks and rec and libraries. Those type of quality of life investments are the second largest. And then you see the general government and public works and city development round out the general fund investment as if we look at it by administration. Now there are a couple of points in conclusion. So the general fund of the city's budget provides for the core services that we've talked about: police and fire, parks and rec, libraries, so our largest investments are in those two areas. Based on, Endeavors, could you flip the slide real quick? I got one more. Based on the FY14 budget, 27% of your tax dollars go to fund the general fund of our government, and those investments are that property taxes cover roughly 90% of the police department expenses in this current fiscal year. And then we have other resources that come in, other taxes and intergovernmental revenues, and to round out our general fund. And finally, we want to make sure you remain engaged in the budget process. I think the mayor mentioned that his budget is due on July 1st. After that, we will have a meeting in July where council will be asked to adopt a tentative millage rate. And then in September, we'll have 2 public hearings where the public will have opportunities to come and speak and address the mayor and council at that time. And those meetings are scheduled for September 4th and September 18th. So we appreciate your attendance tonight and your attendance at the previous budget summits. And now I will sit down and we'll get to hearing what you guys want to talk about, which is the reason we're here. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you haven't already done so, there's cards that you have to fill out in order to be able to speak. And I would ask that each one of you please adhere to the time schedule. It's 3 minutes, and I know you have a lot to say, but if you kind of encapsulate it or give another person half your conversation, we'd like to kind of stay on cue, 3 minutes, and but we have a lot of people who want to have their say. So I want to give everybody an opportunity. So I don't want to have to gong you. So without further ado.
First 2 speakers, Tom Lally and Angela Bond.
The people in the back, there are some chairs up in the very front row, if you'd like to come on up, perhaps.
Mayor, Council, a little lenience I might ask. I don't know, Mayor, if you remember, back in December, you were at a meeting, I met you at a meeting, Steve Cornell had his residence in the south side of the neighborhood. neighborhood associations. And we went around the room and asked questions, and when it came to Jody Davis's turn, she's the president of my association, in Ellis Point, she mentioned how much time she was spending on a grant for the Wee Wee program. Really just consuming all of her time. It led me to a sort of a softball question, what are you going to be doing about grants, helping us with grants? Neighborhoods, but not just neighborhoods, the city departments. You said it was going to be high on your priority, you're going to look at that. Since then, some of the things we've done with the Sustainability Council, we've been working with the Transportation and Parking Department on the Tiger Grant, doing some surveys out to get some information to help with that grant. Additionally, in April, the Sustainability Council met with some people in City Hall, Tom Greene and Schmiege. What we did is we presented a big matrix of all the grants we thought the city had been working on, could be interested in, to work with the community and the city to try to get more information so we have a better head start to work on these grants and to help prioritize them. It all comes down to my ask. What can we expect to see in the city budget to look at expanding our abilities to write grants? Maybe not ourselves, but to help us. The neighborhoods can use it, the departments can use it. It would be a great opportunity. There's a lot of money out there we'd like to see, and the Sustainability Council would like to work with the city to help do that. That was it. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Angela Bond. Thank you very much. Professional actress, and I'm the former development director for American Stage, and also have worked in the development departments at the Maureen Arts Center and Bayfront Health Foundation. And I do want to thank you for your continued support of the arts. That's what I'm here to talk about. And that extra $100,000 for the arts is much appreciated, although I do want to make it clear that that $100,000 is not for granting, that's for support of Elizabeth Brinklow's Cultural Affairs Department. So we're still at $175,000. This year is going to be spread amongst 33 organizations. It has been voiced at previous council meetings that grants are not sustainable forms of income for nonprofits. I'd like to address this as it pertains to grants for our arts organizations that we receive from city, county, and state, as opposed to grants that they may receive from private foundations and corporations. Having worked in all these development departments over 12 years, I know very well that an organization would be foolish to count on an annual grant from any private foundation or corporation. If you get a no from a foundation or a corporation, then you just go and apply for a few more until you get a yes to replace the funds lost. That's just the way it goes. However, if the city, county, or state says no, we have no other recourse. If my organization is the St. Petersburg Company, I can't apply to Clearwater for a grant. I can't apply to Hillsborough County for a grant. I can't apply to Georgia for a grant. If St. Petersburg's priorities include maintaining a vital arts community, then St. Petersburg needs to ensure the annual grants it makes available to deserving organizations is a permanent and important and generous line item of the city's budget, just as it does for maintaining streets, city parks, and the city water system. This is not an ask and you shall receive whatever you want granting process. Applicants need to demonstrate their worth and sustainability through a rigorous competitive application process scored by the City Arts Advisory Committee. Organizations with the best grant applications, that is, written clearly, demonstrating obvious benefit to the citizens of St. Petersburg, as well as a sustainable business model, receive a higher percentage of their grant request. Organizations who score poorly either receive only a fraction of their request or are not funded at all. I urge the City Council to understand that arts organizations deserve to expect annual financial assistance from the city, whose quality of life they benefit so greatly. Thank you so much.
Corey Adler and Eric Amber.
Good evening. I'm Corey Adler. I'm the Community Relations Manager for the Maureen Arts Center. It's a very exciting time right now at the Maureen. It's summer camp, and we have children in and out of our offices at all of our facilities every day. For almost 100 years, we're 98 years old, for almost 100 years, the Maureen has gone up and down with the city. We've seen the impact that the arts have on the lives of a child. We've seen when support is lost. And sometimes we lose children. When children are not given the opportunity to explore their own creativity, to learn the connection between arts and math and science, we all are diminished. The Moraine would like to support the funding and the increased funding of the grants program and of Elizabeth's program and of the Arts Alliance, but we urge you to look at the bigger picture of the number of artists that are hired and live in our community and the economic impact that all of them have on the budget. So we're talking about a budget, and we're talking about a huge number of people and a huge economic impact on our city. So we urge you to support and consider increasing funding. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Arron. I serve as the Vice Chair of St. Petersburg's Arts Advisory Committee under the leadership of our City Liaison, Elizabeth and our Chairwoman, Deborah Kelly. I want to start by thanking our elected officials for your best efforts in the difficult task of creating a budget that balances competing yet important priorities. It is essential to provide services that lift up our citizenry, especially those who are underserved and at risk. We must provide for safety, sanitation, housing, education, food, and many other services that we all depend on. I hope while providing for these essential services, we will also provide for the essential services that knit together our community, inspiring unity and a sense of shared identity, all while stimulating our local economy. This is why I'm asking you to consider a budget increase in support of our local arts institutions. In a time when resources are tight, leverage is key. If you seek maximum return on a single dollar invested, an investment in the arts is always wise, as the arts provide significant tangible and intangible incremental benefits. When providing for youth education and senior services in our budget, remember that our local arts organizations are your partners in this service, providing cradle-to-grave education and enrichment programs that get our youth started on the right foot and bridge the arts gap in schools while keeping our seniors young at mind and heart, agile and engaged. When providing for safety services in the budget, remember that our arts organizations are again your partners in service, providing out-of-school time programs that reach underserved and at-risk youth, offering a meaningful alternative to the trouble that would seek to draw them in many of our neighborhoods. When providing for economic development that attracts new business and grows existing business in our city, remember the 2010 Arts Impact Study for St. Petersburg, which calculated that of 32 responding organizations, the amount contributed to our local economy was $23.35 million. An investment in the arts is neither charity nor luxury. It is enlightened self-interest. Our city can reap these incremental benefits and more by increasing the amount of dollars available to our Arts Advisory Committee for the purpose of granting to arts organizations. Our current pool of funds, for which we are very grateful, is $175,000, but the opportunity to do more, and by extension gain more, abounds. Further, supporting a $50,000 investment in the non-departmental support for St. Petersburg's Arts Alliance will have the downstream effect of increasing capacity and fostering sustainability for our arts organizations and businesses, which will in turn stimulate our economy further through financial impact and jobs creation. Again, let me say thank you for all you're doing to provide for the citizens of St. Petersburg.
Bruce Cook and Stacy Strader.
Mr. Mayor, council members, neighbors, and friends, good evening. My name is Bruce Cook, president of St. Petersburg City Theater. An old habit. A brief plug. We are celebrating our 90th season of world-class children's theater education and main stage community theater productions as Florida's oldest continuously operating community theater. One of the jewels in the crown of the City of the Arts. This summer, and after school throughout the year, we will be providing acting, song, and dance education programs for over 300 local area children and teens, many whose only ability to attend is through our scholarship programs. I am here to add my voice to those of others in the arts community whose very survival often depends upon the arts and cultural grants offered by our state, county, and city governments. We all know of the multitude of studies consistently showing a 5-to-1 return on investment that the arts and cultural organizations provide to their local economies. This statistic is as true for the city of St. Petersburg as it is for Austin, Texas, or Sarasota, Florida, whose arts and cultural funding represents over 2% of their total budgets. As a nationally recognized city of the arts, it is vitally important that this economic force be nurtured and supported by our city government, not only for its economic benefits, but I believe even more importantly for its societal benefits as well. The fine arts, music, theater, dance, these wonderful creative expressions of the human spirit bring people and communities together. When you are watching your children, grandchildren, or other family members perform on stage for the first time in their lives, when you are moved by a great work of art in a museum or a gallery, or inspired by a beautiful piece of music performed by wonderful musicians, the amount of money in your bank account or lack of a bank account, the color of your skin, your religious beliefs, your education level, or the blue or red color of your bumper sticker. None of those things have any relevance to the richness of the experience you are sharing with those seated or standing next to you.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Hello, and Mayor and City Council, I'd first like to start off by thanking you for increasing the budget for the Office of Cultural Affairs. I think that is a very good start for our City of the Arts. But I'm going to ask you to dig just a little bit deeper. When we talked about keeping small businesses here and developing them locally, you also spoke about keeping them in our city. And that right now is what we need to do to our artists. We not only want to develop them, but we do want to keep them locally. I see two other pieces as the formula to make that happen. We'd like to see a reinvestment in our city's grants programs to reach into all of the new groups that are going to be applying this year. We know that they need help to incorporate money and creativity into our community. But as a business leader in St. Petersburg, I need to have the St. Pete Art Alliance lead me. They were a true integral part of Regions joining the Central Avenue Arts District. As we build our building on Central Avenue in the middle of the Arts District, we quickly realized that we had to match our community. We needed to support locally. We needed to how to use our dollars locally, not only for the arts, but for the creation of business. The ROI of $1 spent in the arts community with a ROI of $5, I could retire as a banker. I could do that for each and every one of my clients. We can do that as a city. I'm asking to go into your non-departmental funding and bring $50,000 in for the St. Pete Art Alliance so that what Regions has been able to do can be duplicated again. Thank you, and let's go see.
Diane Shelley and Alan Lowe.
Hi, I'm Diane Shelley, and I'm the Executive Director of Florida Kriseman, and came here from Manatee County, commuted for 3 years till I couldn't stand it anymore. Had to be a resident here in St. Pete because it was so exciting. A quick story, I have a friend who lived in Bradenton. We had a conversation. She and her husband, who's an orthopedic surgeon, decided they empty nesters, let's go move. We want to be in a city of the arts. So they were looking in Sarasota. So I brought them up, took them to a second Saturday art walk, took them to dinner at one of our fine restaurants here. Within 2 months, they moved into a condo at 400 Beach. And then they sold their $2.6 million house. in Bradenton. So that's what the arts is doing for our community, is attracting those kinds of people to our community. It's not only artists, it's people who are eating here, attending events here, paying their taxes here. So it's very important that we keep the arts strong. Florida Craftsman is a beneficiary of the St. Pete Arts Award grant, usually in the neighborhood of about $11,000. We hold an annual festival, a craft art festival in the streets, which benefits the Central Arts District. We're showcasing all the businesses in that area. We're not in a park somewhere. And we get reports from businesses to say, we have to put on extra staff that weekend because it's a great weekend for us. People are there, they're seeing who we are, and they're coming back for more after that. As I mentioned, Florida Craftsman receives a grant for $11,000 from the city, and our biggest expense for that festival is a $12,000 bill to the city. So what I'm asking you to do is to consider upping that grant program, finding a way, finding funds to up that grant program, to take the arts from survival mode and into a situation where they can do world-class programming. The arts in this community are poised to up the ante, and we can guarantee a great return on investment. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Alan Lloyd, the Executive Director of First Night St. Petersburg, and I'd like to thank you all for you continue to fund First Night with non-departmental funding of $25,000. I would like to mention that the way Diane Shelley did, our largest bill this year that we paid last year was from the city. It was over $20,000, so a lot of that went right back in. We did estimate about 22,000 people in downtown attending First Night, and as it's just a huge economic driver. It brings people in from all around the country, all around the world. We've been doing it for 21 years. It takes 14 months to plan the event. Much of that time is spent fundraising. We're doing a lot of corporate fundraising. It's going well, but the piece of the funding that we get from the city is very important to doing First Night. So I'd like to ask you to continue that. And in the 30 years I've been working in the arts here in St. Petersburg for many different organizations, the arts has brought so much to our community. It's driven this big economic driver. I would like to ask you to continue, to the non-departmental funding, as well as increasing arts funding, increasing funding to arts organizations. Thank you for the increases that you've given. Thank you for the increases in the arts marketing. The marketing of small business, small arts businesses is very important for what's going on. Please fund the Arts Alliance for the full $50,000 because that money trickles down to lots of different organizations, like when the money you give to St. Petersburg. All the artists and performers that we hire, we pay them. We don't ask them to do it for free. So that money goes right back into our community as well. The same thing will happen with the Arts Alliance. So I'd like to ask you to continue to fund that as an umbrella to other arts organizations, because that, along with the marketing dollars and the continuing increase in arts funding, is a huge economic driver for St. Petersburg and our quality of life. Thank you very much.
Ashley Greene and Karen Liver.
All right, we're off to a great start. Hi, Mayor and City Council. My name's Ashley Greene, and I'm honored and just the slightest bit nervous to be representing the many voices of the People's Budget Review tonight. So, actually going to read from the paper. A little over a year ago, I was fresh out of school and new to St. Pete, trying to figure out my next move. I was applying for jobs, and though I liked St. Pete, mounting bills had me prepared to go wherever there was a good opportunity. A friend invited me to a meeting of a local coalition group called the People's Budget Review. The city's public budget summits were about to begin, and I attended the first in support of PBR. Over the course of that summit, I learned enough about the city to know that I wanted to be an active part of its community. Resident after resident approached the mic, openly and honestly addressing the mayor and city council. Many were St. Pete natives who spoke of how much they loved the city and why they chose to build their lives here. They spoke in support of city workers and the public services they provided. But mostly, residents spoke on the changes that they knew were necessary to progress the city further. Old wounds of social and economic inequality were laid bare, and it was clear that people were still feeling the impacts of the economic recession. A year later, quite a bit's changed. The People's Budget Review championed additions to last year's budget for more youth jobs, anti-poverty programs for South St. Pete, and neighborhood grant funding. A new mayor and city council have been elected, and the local economy is finally starting to show signs of real improvement. We're at the conclusion of another series of budget summits, and while the scope of the PBR coalition has expanded a bit further this year, the priorities of residents across the city have remained the same. They want support and investment in our neighborhoods, more proactive measures to lessen local unemployment, and increased efforts to decrease poverty throughout St. Pete. Mayor, we thank you for reflecting these ideas in your upcoming budget. The budget is the clearest representation of the city's commitment to its identified priorities. You propose additional funding for neighborhoods, greater investment in affordable housing, and even pledged $50,000 to support local businesses. Currently, the largest reported increase to the budget is a proposed $700,000 to market the city. This is more than the other mentioned proposals combined. St. Pete can best market itself through the success of its people. As the next phase of the city's budget process begins and City Council considers the mayor's full proposed budget, the People's Budget Review urges you to carefully reflect on the hours of input you have received from every corner of the city. Assess the proposals presented in the Community Wealth Survey, each supported by a wide majority of participating residents, and reflect again on what are the most critical priorities for the 2015 budget. Invest first and foremost into the energy and creativity of the residents of St. Pete. We remain dedicated to working with you to create a prosperous and united city where the sun truly shines for all. Thank you.
Today I'm one of the speakers representing the Sustainability Council. I'm also an active member of the PBR, FAST, Wake Pinellas, and the Social Justice Committee at Temple Bethel. My major concern is jobs. The issue of jobs is a sustainability issue. Without good, living wage paying jobs, we cannot have a sustainable community. When there are good paying jobs, working class people spend money in their local communities. Bills are paid, local businesses remain open, new local businesses open up, and more people invest in the community because it is successful. Right now, the city is deciding about whether or not to do recycling in-house or to subcontract it out. I suggest that you strongly consider in-house because the city can then guarantee both local hiring and a living wage, which would include benefits. This would profit the city of St. Pete as well as its residents. More good jobs, more people will spend money in the community. There will be an initial cost, but sometimes doing the right thing involves not looking only at the bottom line. Also regarding jobs, the city passed a jobs ordinance almost 2 years ago. To date, there has been so little movement in this area that it is unnoticeable. As of now, it appears that only one project involving 4 hires may be a possibility. I'll quote directly from a note on June 4th, 2 weeks ago from Thomas Gibson, Director of Engineering for the city. Hubbard Construction has hired 4 local employees and will be requesting credit for these hires on the next pay request. Did that happen? And what more is being done? The jobs ordinance has requirements vis-a-vis ex-offenders, the youth of our city, and apprenticeship programs, all of which are vastly needed in St. Pete. Ex-offenders need jobs. Our youth need jobs to be kept busy as well as to make money. And apprenticeship programs, those with real teeth, are a true ticket to the middle class. I will sum up by saying, the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. Good, well-paying jobs are an important part of a sustainable city. If there are residents that can't pay their bills, we are all the poorer for it. Thank you.
members, thank you all for what you have done to support the arts. I'm Jeff Shore from Kriseman House Gallery. And the $100,000 is a great start. It's a great start for the Cultural Affairs Office, but as some people have already said, we do need more funding in the grant program. We're going from 22 applicants to 33 applicants. And not only that, but as you've heard, a lot of that money turns around and goes right back to the city. So by increasing the grant program, maybe the applicants will actually have some money to put towards their events that they're not throwing back to the city. Second thing is non-departmental funding for the Arts Alliance. What the Arts Alliance has done in just 2 short years has been incredible as far as what they've done for Art Walk, for different art businesses in the city, and for the individual artists. So, and I think, again, all of you agree it's a good thing. It's just prioritizing where the resources are going, and being the city of the arts and seeing how every dollar goes into the arts comes back fivefold just makes sense to do that. So prioritize the arts and put money into the arts. And then one last thing, on a different note, I also would like to see you back Dr. Margaret's recommendations on his homeless initiatives, specifically the chronic homeless diversion program. When we did see that working last summer, it just was incredible for what it did to the homeless, the local businesses, and the neighborhoods. So it's really important, and it seemed from what I saw, the money put into it brought a lot back. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Maria Jose Hayes, and I'm speaking on behalf of People's Budget Review. Since the last Public Budget Summit in May, our organizers and volunteers have collected more than 1,000 surveys from local residents asking them about how they value their city services, while at the same time getting input on creative ideas for increasing the scope and impact of our shared resources. Together, we all share community wealth in our libraries, recreation centers, public parks. Even the skills, knowledge, and tools of our public servants are vital resources that we all pay for and benefit from. We believe these shared resources must be used to their fullest potential to address the challenges and opportunities facing our city. With an overwhelming response, residents have expressed that they value and want to preserve our public services while exploring ways to do more with the resources already available to us. Ideas ranging from city apprenticeship programs designed to reduce youth unemployment, increasing access to vacant public lands for local food production, and even simple things like providing free Wi-Fi at the recreation centers can all contribute to our core goals of expanding economic and political democracy for the people of St. Petersburg. Please be sure to look at the full list of these ideas on our handout being circulated tonight. So it looks like this. With all of this input from the constituents over the past 3 months, you now have a great opportunity before you. We've seen overwhelming support for these low-cost, high-return proposals and strongly urge the administration to consider these policy ideas when you put forward the final budget in July. Let's provide a first-class city apprenticeship program that sets precedents and prepares our youth today for the jobs we know will exist tomorrow. Let's provide our residents with access to nutritional food grown right here in St. Petersburg. Let's reimagine the potential of our community wealth to support the greatest asset of any community, the spirit, creativity, and dedication of our people. Mayor Kriseman, with input from more than 1,000 residents and a clear mandate behind those low-cost proposals, we are essentially tossing you a softball. Now is the time to hit a home run for the city of St. Pete. Thank you.
and the owner of MGA Sculpture Studio. This past Saturday, we had another great art walk in the city of St. Petersburg, and we moved people throughout the city from all over the region, from downtown on the waterfront, up Central to 30th, the Craftsman House, through the Warehouse Arts District, and down to the Carter G. Woodson on the south side of town. It's a great big event, and it's a wonderful accomplishment that the city and the arts community is put together. Every Wednesday after Art Walk, which would be this Wednesday, the Warehouse Arts District Association has a board meeting. We postponed our board meeting this month so that we could have a presence here at this meeting and show you how important it is that the arts community and the city work together to help build a world-class arts city. Would everyone who's in the crowd right now who's supporting and representing the arts community, could you please raise your hand? There are a lot of us here. Let's see, I lost my spot here. We appreciate the increase to Elizabeth Brinklow's office. It is much needed, without a doubt, and it is very much appreciated. But we also think that it's very important that the grants program for arts organizations be increased, and we realize that it's going to take some time to get it back to where it was, but we really need to work to get it there as quickly as possible. Excuse me. We also would like to see an additional $50,000 go back into the Arts Alliance for John Collins. Right now, the arts community is more organized than it's ever been, at least in the 9 years that I've been in this community. And that's due in large part because of the work that the Arts Alliance has done. The arts can and do generate revenue for the city. If the city will increase its commitment to the arts, and we work together, we can maximize the revenue gain, and we all win. I mean, it's an investment in the city, it's an investment in the arts, and that money will come right back to us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Larry Biddle, and I'm here representing Metro Wellness and Community Centers. One of the things I should first talk about is Metro itself. It's an organization that's been in existence and in this community for 21 years. Monthly, it provides services to 6,000 LGBT, primarily LGBT, members of our community in Tampa Bay, both in Hillsborough and Pinellas County. About 9,500 of those individuals are receiving services for HIV or AIDS. One of the projects that we started actually at the beginning of this year, a new project, is to have an LGBT welcome center here in St. Petersburg. We were donated a building which is a 1922 bungalow, and we actually moved it one block on Central. It's now located at 2227 Central. In that building, when it's finished, the renovation of which we're doing right now, and for which I want to speak today, we will have a coffee shop with support from our friends at Colin Coffee. We will have the third LGBT travel center in the United States. There's one in Miami, and there's one in Seattle. Why not one in St. Petersburg? We've been working very closely with the Visit St. Pete Clearwater, and they're helping us in the marketing of our fair city and our region, and trying to get folks from all over the world to come as visitors. We're sure that we will have heads in beds, and that we will be sufficiently adding to the economic development and travel and tourism in this area. We're going to have programs and services there, nutritional programs and so forth. One of the major factors of an LGBT welcome center, which Miami and Seattle has testified to us, is that we will become the input spot, place, location for homeless LGBT youth. As a matter of fact, right now, there are 5 LGBT youth receiving services from Metro Wellness under the age of 16. They are taken off the street and are now providing services, including in some instances housing. So we want to be prepared for these folks, and we want to have a great program. I'm not here to ask for an increase, and I'm not here actually to ask for money after this year. Thank you.
Jeremiah Jacobs and Catherine Howell.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah Jacobs. I'm a member of the Warehouse Arts District Board. I have been traveling the country for the better part of a decade, Hawaii, Maine, living in different places and learning ceramics mainly. I landed in St. Petersburg about 2.5 years ago for an artist in residency at the Kriseman House Gallery. Since then, I've been introduced and able to work with so many interesting and talented people here in St. Petersburg that I've decided to stay. And I believe there's more coming just for that reason. You know, I spoke to friends of mine that are the same age and envious of the opportunities that I've received here. So I'd just like to urge you guys to consider for funding it. Thank you.
I'm Catherine Howell. I'm a 17-year resident of St. Petersburg. When I moved here, I never intended to make this my forever home. I cannot imagine, I'm sorry. I cannot imagine living anywhere else anymore. This is my community. The arts have made this an incredible city to live in. And how much has changed in 17 years? We've heard a lot of these organizations have been around almost 100 years. But we now have a community around them. We have brought artists here. We have brought new businesses that are partially here because of the arts. We bring in banks that come in and see what the arts can do to them. It is incredible what we've done. I thank you for the money you have put back into the budget for arts and cultural affairs. The city grants, we've heard from all of these people, need to be increased. But I think the conversation needs to also shift. We stand here and ask for money, but the return on that investment is huge. It's an economic decision. The support that the city gives the arts comes back. It comes back in tax dollars, it comes back in heads and beds, it comes back in so many ways. It brings people to this city as tourists. It brings residents here. It keeps people like me here. It is just incredibly important. And so thank you for what you've done. You've heard of what we want more. This is a partnership. We're here. I'm on the Florida Craftsman Board. I'm an artist in the Warehouse Arts District. I'm on the Public Arts Commission. I'm doing what I can in this community to keep it vital. A partnership with the city is equally as important. Thank you. Gary Gaddis and Julie Kessel.
Hello, my name is Carrie Jadis. Okay. I'm a local artist here in St. Petersburg. I grew up in St. Petersburg and I've had my art business for 8 years here now. I have a lot of faith in St. Pete's art community. It's starting to blossom and I appreciate all of the funding that you've recently given us, and I know that you're trying your best to make it all work out, and you have a lot of bills to pay. Mostly, I agree with what everyone who spoke before me about the arts has said, and I just don't want to keep reiterating that anymore, but I do want to say that it is very important to me colleagues who can't be here tonight. So if you could please keep the funding coming and also support the Arts Alliance, which is, I feel, very vital to unifying our arts community, and in the 1 year it has worked wonders, and I wish that we would support it as much as possible. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Julie Kessel. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of St. Pete area this year, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and to work with this dynamic new council and with you, Mayor Kriseman. So thank you for that. I want to comment briefly on just 3 items for council's consideration tonight: People's Budget Review, Universal Curbside Recycling, and Libraries. So with regard to the People's Budget Review, the League wholly supports the work of the People's Budget Review. It really reflects civic engagement and participation in the government process and democracy, which is central to the League's mission to increase civic participation. So we really encourage you to take the comments of the People's Budget Review seriously and to heart. With regard to universal curbside recycling, we appreciate that the strategy for UCR funding and operations continues to evolve. The League strongly supports your ongoing efforts to find economically sound solutions, as well as providing jobs to St. Pete residents. So we encourage you to continue your efforts to make this happen as soon as possible. We know that's not going to happen this year, but we want it to happen as soon as possible, and hopefully in early 2015. We very much thank you for your consideration of keeping jobs local and maintaining, supporting a living wage for those workers. So I can't say it enough, thank you, and please continue to stay the course on this path. We understand that your strategy's evolved, leading to some delay, and that you're now considering keeping waste collection in-house and vending out processing. We support that deliberation, but encourage you to minimize the delay and make this happen. Our goal is to get it going, increase the tonnage of collectibles, and make it available to all the residents of St. Pete. We know it will start with residents and households, but we hope to expand that over time. Please consider the League and the People's Trash Review Coalition, which I also represent tonight, your partners and supporters in making curbside recycling a reality. We'll do what we can to support you, and please stay the course. My third and final topic is about libraries. The League supports the library system in St. Pete and the county. Libraries in many ways level the playing field for residents who may have limited resources and access to information, books, and technology. They also create a safe and comfortable space for community activities. Last year, the League engaged in a study to explore the community's interest and use of the libraries here in St. Pete. We concluded that libraries remain a pretty critical element in the mesh of our community and continue to be used by many. The budget's up. Oh, thank you. And Annette Hubbard. Annette Hubbard?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name's Annette Hubbard, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. When I first moved to St. Petersburg, after I closed on my home, I went straight to Azalea and rented my garden space. And I want to thank you for the incredible job that you have done on rehabbing that incredible garden. I'm also a member of St. Petersburg Garden Club, and I'm the chairperson for School Gardens. Also, we are collaborating with the library and others to start a seed catalog. We hope to have that up and running by the planting in the fall. I'm also co-manager for FCC Community Garden in the north. We have 38 4x10 beds with over 20 people growing with us. And I grow about 11 of those beds for benevolent giving. This year I started a senior produce sharing program with our Enoch Davis Center. Once a month I'd go there and share vegetables, and Sunshine Center. And the remainder that I had throughout the month would go to West Care. Last year I shared over 650 pounds. This year it's over 1,000 pounds of produce. Okay? I'm here today to plant seeds. I am requesting that you all open up your hearts and your minds to the possibility of taking 50% of the dollars that you spent in Azalea and doing one garden this year in the South. I'm currently starting a garden in Jordan Park, and that's for Jordan Park residents only. It's underway. We've been granted some monies. We have kids and adults doing it. We have parks in the South, just like we have a park at Azalea. I would ask that you consider just 50% of what you did at Azalea as park in the South this year. And next year, do a second one, once that's successful, with the remainder. What we invested in the North, please let's invest in the South. It grows communities, it teaches people to grow their own healthy food. It's amazing. And Mr. Dudley, I would like to invite you to join Fred in our garden at FCC. Thank you for your time.
Winnie Foster and Rebecca Skelton.
Good evening, good friends and elected officials. I have always had an interest in history. I was kind of forced to come to St. Petersburg in 1970 when my husband got a job here. I cried. I didn't want to come. I said, it's going to be a racist city. And you know what? It was. And I have some documents from the city charter, that prove that in words. But what I like about what I'm hearing here tonight is that this is a new city. The sun is shining. And I'm liking what I'm hearing from the arts community, that new spirit, that feeling that we can all work together and that it is expressing something that's human in all of us and can benefit everybody. And the same thing is happening with growing local food. Annette Hubbard is what I call a spark plug. She gets out there and makes it happen. But there are many other people here too that are doing that. And I know that I partnered with the Urban League to put in 6 raised bed gardens in my half lot in the Bahama Shores neighborhood. It is spreading. Every day we get calls asking for people to help establish gardens. So I know that you all are aware of this. We'll work together however we can. But I want to point out that PBR, as the league pointed out, has been an exercise in democracy. It is nonpartisan, and I've been a member of it from the beginning. And it's a joy to see the young people that have come out to really dedicate themselves and spend their time going out to reach out to all citizens and to say, come share with your city government what your thoughts and feelings are. So we're looking forward to new steps that PBR is going to help us open up, new doorways for citizenship and democracy. And so I love the article that the Tampa Bay Times printed with Diane Stanell. She came to the last budget hearing and she said, wow, St. Petersburg, they were all talking about getting along. They weren't fighting with the council. So we have an opportunity to grow and prosper and spend our dollars locally. Keep them at home. Thank you.
artists for first night frequently. I wanted to encourage you to support funding the Arts Alliance, and grants. Thank you for what you've done. At this last art walk, we had many people. We always ask them where they come from. A lot of them, a huge majority, come from out of town. We get people from Manatee County, from Hillsborough, from way north, Pasco County. We get people from out of state, tourists coming, and they're coming to see the art. They don't always buy art, but they're coming to see it. We get artists who are coming from out of town also moving here asking us about renting studio space. So they're coming because of the City of the Arts. We also have people come locally to see the art. They don't buy it, but then they go downstairs and they buy, drinks and meals, which is great. But it would, we would buy meals and drinks if they bought our art. So, it's an immediate impact. I sold a few things this past weekend and immediately turned around and went out to eat and drink and paid for a dance class at a local dance place. So the money rolls right through us. But not just the immediate effect of the arts. The arts create a legacy for the city. In the future, I would like for people to look back on what you've done and say, St. Petersburg has created a lasting legacy of arts, and judge us well for that. Thank you.
Sharon, can we have Dietrick go first, followed by Adam? We have a sequence going. Mrs. Strick, wants to go first. Sorry, we've got a plan here. We've got a plan going.
Your 3 minutes are up.
You only have 30 seconds left.
Hello all, and that is my wife Sharon. My name is Dietrick. I'm a resident of Rosa Park. And I'm here to speak today in opposition against the Pinellas Trail extension through Rosa Park. So, Rosa Park is St. Petersburg's first historic neighborhood with 129 homes. We're hilly, we have brick streets, and we're cut through by scenic Brooker Trail. We're a hidden gem. We have old growth oak canopies, lush vegetation, and abundant wildlife. Some facts about this proposed trail. The proposed bike trail is going to replace the existing walking trail that goes through the park. The trail will be 14 feet wide with a base of 16 feet. With maintenance access of 4 feet on each side, is going to cut a 24-foot disturbance through the center of our park. Our park is only 30 feet wide in spots. $2.5 million by the city's capital improvement funds will be spent to go up and build this. The neighborhood association, 23 households in total, have supported the plan. But they do not represent the voice of the neighborhood, as we've had 61 individuals, 46 households, sign a petition against this plan. The proposed trail, as planned, will change the historic nature of the neighborhood and the park. $2.5 million will be spent with little benefit to few. And I ask you, why do we need to build a bicycle superhighway through the middle of old growth oaks and sensitive vegetation when Rosa Park Drive and other streets in our neighborhood crumble and are under repair? We are stewards of our green space, which along with the houses define the historic neighborhood. The historic green space deserves the same level of protection as the homes. I challenge the city to think outside the box and design a trail that does not impact the the area. For example, let's go off and split the trail, make it narrower and put it on both sides of Booker Creek, and leverage the underutilized Rosa Park Drive that is in disrepair and neglect. Due to the shade of our old oak canopies, the park can be enjoyed during all the summer. What other parks in Florida can you say that? Walk Rosa Park at noon along the walking path, then walk the Campbell Park bike trail extension, and you will melt under Campbell Park. And walk your dog in Rosa Park. In 50 years, will this decision be seen as an asset or as a decision that ruined a gem? So I'm asking you today, please defund or do not plan to build the Rosa Park extension or change your plans. Use that money more wisely someplace else. I thank you for your time.
I can see where this, I'm guessing you can see where this is going, right? My name is Adam Geisen. My wife and I moved into Rosa Park about 3 years ago. One of the main reasons was because of the park that is there. The neighborhood, if you're not familiar with it, is located directly behind Bayfront Hospital. It's on Booker Creek. It was created by, or designed and developed by Charles Roser in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm here today to voice my concerns about the trail and the $2.5 million that's going to be spent on that short distance of trail that's being created. The area, as mentioned, is very unique and very interesting to St. Petersburg, and a lot of neighbors and people haven't been around that area, you'd be surprised to see it's very hilly and very shaded. The canopy is created by trees that are over 100 years old, and once those are removed, they're gone forever. They were planted there for our enjoyment. I provided a handout. The handout has at the top postcards that were previously done. As you can see, it was a highlight of the neighborhood. There's hills there that are very unique. You also see, there's provided photos of taped areas along that trail that are going to be excavated to build this path, and also retaining walls. There's potentially 94 trees that are going to be removed for this trail along that short distance. Some of those trees, like I mentioned, are 100 years old and 2 to 3 feet in diameter. If these hills and trees are removed, they're lost forever. They'll be gone forever. But in addition to just creating the trail, you're also losing animal habitats. I saved a burrowing owl 2 months from that area, and it's actually included on the board back there. And just last week, my wife and I saw 4 otters playing in that creek right below that hill. If you come in with construction crews, that's going to be gone forever. So, as a concerned neighbor, save the $2.5 million and save the neighborhood.
My name is Ron Motika, and I've lived in the Rosa Park neighborhood since 1978. And I want to thank the council and mayor for all the projects in the past that have helped us. One of the things that I did in 1998, right after we became a historic district, was to put out a series of markers that highlight the beauty of Rosa Park. People walk through our neighborhood and they look at it. When they pick up from the Chamber of Commerce our flyer on Discover St. Petersburg, we are listed as Site 37. And as Site 37, it says, Historic Rosa Park's Outdoor Museum. Historic Rosa Park highlights the city's first national and local historic district's unique topography, architecture, history, through a series of markers placed along picturesque Booker Creek and Rosa Park. Now, Cheryl Stacks, who works with the bike trail, has had several meetings with the neighborhood. And in the newspaper article that came out a few weeks ago, she mentioned that they may be taking out 94 large trees, but that's not a problem because they're going to put back twice as many. However, when you look at the pictures of Roser Park currently, you will notice that the markers are placed under the trees. It's very shady, it's picturesque, you don't see the next marker. Just across Martin Luther King, on the other side of 9th Street, you can see that the trail is very wide, and on either side it is covered with a large grassy area. It's very sterile. Where are you going to put those markers? You're not going to have an attractive place to see the beauty of your first historic district if you destroy it with this much cement and removal of this many trees. I believe that people should come to Roser Park. I want to see them come through the neighborhood. I want them to enjoy it. But I think a better use of that money would be to direct the traffic onto Roser Park Drive, the brick road, which is very underutilized, very few cars travel that, and save Roser Park. That park's been that way for about 100 years, and it's very important to those of us that live there. All the renderings that Cheryl has shown to the neighborhood have been the perspective of looking down the trail, and in those perspectives, none of the trees were removed and didn't look so bad. I asked her at the last meeting to give us a perspective as what we would see, those of us that are on the drive across from the park. Because in order to make that wide of a path, you're going to have to raise the earth and cut it away in different parts. And that's not going to be very attractive. So I'm asking that you give us a little consideration. Thank you.
Northwest corner, it's about 30 feet, and on the southeast corner, it's about 90 feet, average cross length, but with a maximum width of 130 feet. Currently, we have a pedestrian trail that goes through the area, and it's a very nice trail. It's about 5 feet wide. The trail, however, is uneven. The retaining wall that lines Booker Creek is cracked and patched in several places, and new walls cracks continue to develop every couple of months. And additionally, there are also sinkholes and pools on Roser Park Drive. So I guess the question to all the ladies and gentlemen up front is, do you think we really need another concrete structure that's 16 feet wide cutting through this area? If you look on the second page, part of what makes Roser Park so quaint is the fact that it has a 5-foot wide walking trail that keeps the majority of the canopy overhead, some of which, like Adam and Ron have alluded to, are over 100 years old. And the temperature under the canopy, measured at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, was 93 degrees with a humidity of 42%. And a light level of about 2,000 lux. That makes it a fairly nice, comfortable walk, and it's pleasant even at the very end of the heat of the day. However, when you contrast that with Kemble Park and their 14-foot bike trail, you see that the temperature is about 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 26% humidity, and that makes for a very uncomfortable, bright, hot walk. So St. Pete prides itself as being a green city. The removal of 100 trees, approximately 100 trees, given a couple of collateral damage plants on the side, certainly doesn't support that. There will be some significant oaks that will be removed in the canopy. It is said that, yeah, these trees are getting old towards the end of their lifespan, but at the same time, if we take them out and replace them 2-to-1 with palms, which is the city's preference to do so, we will never get that same amount of canopy. Even if you replace them with oaks, there's no way you're replacing 60 to 80-foot oak trees.
Sharon, your time is up.
Oh, okay, thank you. So, in closing, there is going to be net carbon release and increased water runoff into the atmosphere as a consequence of this trip. Thank you.
Dr. Brandon Schuler and Wayne Schrader.
Brandon made it, right?
Thank you for letting me address the arts budget review meeting. That's a great turnout, and I mean that sincerely. I had all all these things that I wanted to say about the Booker Creek Trail. I live also at Rosa Park, and it's my job to kind of wrap it up. Rosa Park is a really special place, and if you've ever been there, you recognize that. And it still looks much like the postcards from 1914. It's an iconic vantage of our city. And it's part of our city's brand. And the changes that we're considering there are kind of alarming in view of the fact that we've carefully preserved that for the last 100 years. And there's a reason we're the city's first historic district. So we're trying to preserve that. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention something about the arts, though, I think. And I just wanted to observe quickly that somebody I admire very much from the 60s, a famous musician, has become an ambassador for the arts and has toured the world exploring what other governments and what they do in other places with the arts and how it relates to things like you're thinking about doing, and how it fits into a budget. And one of the things he pointed out was the temptation when times are tough is to slash the arts first when you don't have a lot of money. And really that's the last thing you want to do. You want to actually fund the arts more. And the reason for that is it provides creative vision to the community. And that's what you need. And you're in a situation where economies are stagnant and you're having trouble coming up with dollars. You need, to think outside the box. So I hope that you would maybe take this $2 million and maybe not destroy our very important neighborhood that we all love so much, and think about maybe ways of doing things that might be more important. Whatever you decide to do with Rosa Park, I would just urge caution. And it seems like we're moving very fast in this process, probably too fast, and we're not listening enough to everybody's point of view. It's clear that the city really wants to do this project. They're eager to do it. Our neighborhood association wants to do it. But there is a lot of controversy about it in the neighborhood that you're not hearing about. Roughly, I would say half of our neighborhood oppose it. So just keep that in mind. And again, thanks for your time.
Scott Bitterly and Anita Richardson.
Good evening. My name is Scott Bitterly. I'm with the Sustainability Council and the People's Budget Review. Thank you all for your past efforts to move St. Petersburg towards a more sustainable community. Please continue working to adopt programs such as PACE that will include a residential properties aspect, the Platinum designation for the Green Cities program, the FGVC, and we look forward to working with the city to achieve those goals and others, like the more ambitious and comprehensive measures like the STAR community rating system. The Sustainability Council recognizes the challenges the city is facing in attempting to achieve these goals. The major challenge being to harness community engagement. The city can try to enact responsible policies and programs, but without a cultural change of the residents, no one will be successful. The Sustainability Council strives to serve as a conduit between the city, the residents, and public and private institutions to achieve these goals. In our work, we have looked at the Mayor's Innovation, Collaboration, and Sustainability Task Force for a strategic vision of how we can do this. Their summary of recommendations is an inspirational and practical guide to a truly transformative process. One of the strategies, number 2, is titled Rethink Policy to Open Space for Innovation. Utilizing data to better understand problems, track results, and direct funds to proven policies and programs. This is an example of those rating systems that I talked about, and it also instills accountability in the city. Strategy number 3 is titled Develop a Culture of Innovation. It mentions rewarding and protecting risk-taking activities. The People's Budget Review recent surveys concluded that there is strong support for city services. This, along with the strategies for innovation, set the stage for exciting possibilities. This could be an opportunity and innovation in our sanitation department, like making the curbside recycling in-house. of those key points in there state to formalize innovation work within the city government and increase potential for innovation through recruiting and human services strategies. That's using the current staff that we have, hiring more city services to provide innovative programs and services that we want to do. Again, like the neighborhood tool sharing programs at the rec centers. They also found that an apprenticeship program is overwhelmingly supported by residents. I feel this type of long-term program can solve many of the city's critical needs. Youth unemployment, alternative education, crime prevention, ex-offender rehabilitation, many of these things. So please, in the short term, organizing our institutions to look at an apprenticeship program would greatly benefit all of us. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dietrick. I'm a sanitation driver. The last gentleman touched on a few things that I wanted to address. One is in-house curbside recycling. We have some of my coworkers here to support that. Also, the apprenticeship program that in 10 years, I won't be working for the city. Who's coming behind me? We need to train, and that's how I came to the city, through the apprenticeship program through PTEC. So I know it works. I have my son here, Quentin Richardson. He just flew in from Korea. And this is a young man that I was telling you about with the peer idea. PCA program, visual arts student, all the programs that we have put me to work. And this young man is a product of St. Pete. And I just like him to speak, and he'll be to the meeting tomorrow to do his peer presentation.
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, thank you again for this opportunity. I just got off of a 30-hour flight, so I'm kind of sleepy. I apologize. It's also kind of cold in here, so I'm a little bit shivering and nervous. To the point, my mother inspired me to actually start the project. I've been serving overseas for the last 5 years now, so it's a little difficult to get FaceTime with you all. It's also difficult to reach you all. I've sent emails, I've also sent a presentation. It's good to see that got to someone's hands, but I feel like it didn't get to the right hand. So hopefully tomorrow I can impress you better with FaceTime, because it's really hard to sell you an idea from across the world, and also sleep. With that, I also need help from not only city council members, but also the artist community as well. I'm very limited in my capability to design something that does not exist yet. I'm very successful at trying to show you the outside, but I want to walk you all inside. If you know any graphic designers or any engineers that can help out, that'd be greatly appreciated. City council members, I know you can't show me the data I need from across the world, so I was actually hoping tomorrow if I could be provided with data up here, so I can finish designing the new pier for you all. Okay. I'm only here for a couple days, so I apologize. I actually decided to come here to see you all and see my family before I go to my next duty station and try to pitch this idea from afar. So again, thank you all for your time, and I hope to impress you all tomorrow.
Upset is the change in our pay with once a week going to twice a week. Please consider not doing that, because that's one of the perks of being a city employee. And it's lowering the morale. And I just wanted to let you know about that.
The peer meeting tomorrow night at Charles Park.
council meeting. So we'll be in council. We can come when we get out, I guess. I would love to be there, but it's the same night that we got council meeting. So if you don't see us, that's why. But you can cut the TV on and look at us while you present.
Arron, Dietrick, and Lucy Tramarko.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and residents of St. Petersburg. My name is Arron Dietrick, and I'm here speaking tonight on behalf of Florida Public Services Union and the 1,200 city employees that we represent here. As some of you are aware, last week we began negotiating our contract that will coincide with the fiscal year 2015 budget, which we are here to discuss tonight. As the representative of city employees, we are also committed to the health and equity of the communities in which they live. In the spirit of that commitment towards our workers in the city they keep running every day, I would like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about what we are proposing for this year's labor agreement. First of all, we're proposing a minimum living wage for all city employees of $15 an hour. Our members and community allies strongly believe that this city can, should, and must set the example for what we hope other employers in the community will follow. As several members of this very city council have applauded C1 Bank's recent decision to pay a living wage to its employees and expressed hopes that other employers would follow suit, we think it's best to start in our own house, where 25% of our current workforce is not making a living wage. Secondly, we're proposing that the city establish a comprehensive apprenticeship program that will ensure we have the skilled workers needed to replace an aging workforce, while at the same time reducing youth unemployment, which plagues our community and threatens our future prosperity. Here we actually have a generational opportunity to prepare our children today for the quality union jobs we know will exist tomorrow and offer them a pathway to the middle class. Additionally, we are proposing that the city enable ex-offenders who have paid their debt to society a fair chance at gaining meaningful employment by removing any questions regarding an applicant's criminal record from all city hiring applications. Criminal background checks will still be in place, but only after an applicant has been offered employment, and that applicant should only be disqualified if past offenses directly relate to the specific duties and responsibilities of the job. Ultimately, anything that makes it harder for ex-offenders to gain employment makes it more likely they will re-offend, and this does no benefit to our community. On one final note, we would like to commend Mayor Kriseman for a recent decision to re-examine keeping universal curbside recycling within the city and not outsourcing that service to a private for-profit company. I can actually tell you from personal experience, very early in the morning, about the pride, integrity, and commitment of the men and women that are keeping this city clean long before most of us wake up. I can also tell you with the utmost confidence that there is no organization that will provide a better service to our residents than those men and women of the St. Petersburg Sanitation Department. Thank you very much.
Mayor Kriseman, City Council. My name is Lucy Tramarko, and I am a member of the Sustainability Council and also with the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida. So tonight, I would like to follow up on my comments from the last budget summit. I spoke about my youth art corps student at Wildwood Rec Center who did everything to qualify for a Bright Future Scholarship, but she didn't have the $45 to take the SAT. Of course, I did ask her many times to just let me know if she needed the money for the test. She always insisted she had it. She was just too proud to ask. The reason I'm continuing to talk about this tonight is that I believe that the city can address the social equity for students in the Midtown neighborhood of St. Pete. It's a mistake to think that the programs already in place for students in the county will be enough to address the needs of Midtown students. I have taught at Wildwood after school with Youth Art Corps for 10 years, and I I know something about that community. There's a special need and a special culture in our Midtown neighborhood. Many students there would be the first in their families to attend college. Many don't have a role model, a family member to help them, or even money to take the SAT. At the last budget summit meeting, we were all impressed that there were several individuals and groups who spoke out about working together to help young people. Let's put together a roundtable of those people and other interested participants to determine what the city can do for its Midtown youth who aspire to go to college. This would surely include free SAT prep courses, as well as help with everything from items in high school to help filling out college applications and FAFSA financial aid forms. And of course, there would be some funds available for actually taking the SAT. Bright Future scholarships are awarded disproportionately to students from higher socioeconomic families. I'd like to see St. Petersburg invest in its Midtown youth to even the social equity playing field and tap into the great potential that we have in our Midtown youth. The other thing that I'd like to discuss is the construction in the city. There were a total of 15,576 permits issued between the 8 months from October 1st, 2013 to May 31st, 2014, and these include new construction, renovations, and service permits, with building obviously increasing. It is important for the city to develop its low-impact development policy now, or at least to make LID policy knowns. Oh, thank you. And encourage it by at least putting on the city's website. Thank you very much.
Chelsea Portilla and Kathy Harrell.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I actually came here this evening to speak to you about wildflowers and planting them and joining Tampa in their initiative to plant more wildflowers. But after hearing what I heard about Roser Park, I would be doing my friends a disjustice if I didn't speak out for them. I have two very close friends that live in Roser Park, and it's been a source of pride for them for many years. I have one friend who's lived there all his life, and the house has been in his family for 3 generations. They're very proud to be residents of Roser Park and enjoy its beauty. I have another group of friends that it's one of those houses with countless numbers of roommates, but they're all young people like myself. They're artists, they're students. You know, they take pride in living in Roser Park and being able to be part of that historic neighborhood. So I just ask that you listen to the commentary we've heard prior and stop this project and allow my friends to enjoy Roser Park. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's really good to be here on this rainy St. Pete night. I'm Kathy Harrelson. I'm the chair of the St. Pete Sustainability Council. My colleagues have covered many of the issues, so I just wanted to kind of let you know a little bit about what we've been doing. We did meet recently with Michael Connors and discussed ways that we can really interface with the city. And I do want to stress, because this came up last time, that we are a community group. We certainly see being able to create more technical advisory boards and work directly with the city, but at present don't see the need necessarily for a sustainability layer, bureaucracy silo in the city. That's actually the last thing we want to do. Because the city departments do their best, we know that. The idea is to have sort of an umbrella approach. For example, the committee of the whole meeting last week regarding the Ray Hall property, which I know has been a big discussion item out there. One of the things that was brought up, and I don't see Councilmember Foster here, and she mentioned it, as did Councilmember Rice and others, that is a big issue for me, which is process. The Wiki Wachi Fund, for example, right now, there's really not, a process that involves the community, that is transparent, that is based on real criteria, that have been vetted and established by those out in the city. And I think that that's just an example of the kind of thing that bringing in the community into these kind of decisions, in actually even in just deciding how you want to proceed with the process, is a way that we can do this in a way that brings sustainability into the city, that really raises the ethic of sustainability. So that's one thing that we definitely see going forward. We are working with some folks on the tree ordinance. We are, as Scott pointed out, working on the Florida Green Building Council, Green Local Government upgrade, and hope to institute the STAR rating, which I have to tell you what that acronym is. I had to look it up. It is Sustainable Tools for Assessing and Rating Communities. The great thing about that is it's a real living tool, so it really enables us to measure, and we know that what we measure we get done. So I hope you'll continue to support the work of the Sustainability Council, and thank you all so much for being here.
And Charles Mims.
Amy is gone.
Okay. Paul Glass. Charles Mims and Paul Glass.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Professor, and all the city councilmen, and mayors. I'm going to try to keep up with the time, so starting now. I'm so thankful to all the ones that spoke for the sanitation department. I am one of the guys that works there, and I'm the one that's really pushing and encouraging that we have curb recycling. I believe it will benefit our city. It will help employ many men and women. I think that that's the best way to go in order for us to be a better city, a different city, to set a standard so high that others may look at our city and say, hey, we want to go there. And hoping that we will continue to do that. It really is important. I've really been praying. I've been praying by myself sometimes, but I'm thankful for the mayor to revisit the situation. I really thank you so much. God has answered my prayer. I got one thing that I'm concerned about. The guys, like the lady said earlier, the guys are really concerned about the 2 bi-weekly. When I came into the city, it was many years ago. And I work for sanitation and water treatment plants because of the different things that we have to deal with from waste. That was one of the benefits for working in those departments, to be able to deal with that type of stuff, because a lot of people didn't want to work in those departments. But as the years came around, there's individuals that don't know anything about what we did before. And we really work hard every day. So I want you to really think about, pray about it if you can. The ones that believe in prayer, and try to see if that could work for us, continue to keep it where it is. Because it helps the guys, it helps the women, because we're so used to it. So help us in that area. And that last thing that I want to just really push out, I've always came about, because I work with kids all the time. I keep pushing track and field, yes, because I believe that track and field is one of the answers to help students stay focused. I also believe that we could bring colleges here in our beautiful city when it gets cold. I believe that we can offer things to them as well. I also believe that we can host the Junior Olympics that I'm preparing for right now.
Very long walk. Number 2.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
board, staff, and community members assembled. Please forgive my back. I'm Beatrice Farrell, representing the Deuces Live, a certified Florida Main Street on the historic commercial district on 22nd Street South. Thank you for the support of the Main Streets. One tangible result of the city's support of the Deuces Live is its newly established Sunday market on the Deuces. Shameless plug, last Sunday on the Deuces for the season is June 22nd, relaunching in September. Businesses have been started, individuals are self-employed, and their enterprises are expanding. I'd also like to request, I'm requesting continued support of the Main Street programs, and there are presently 4 in the city. Additionally, as a member of the Warehouse Arts District, continued and expanded funding of the Arts District has a direct and positive impact on the Deuces Live. Art venues are increasing, and jazz is at Sylvia's Sunday from 6 to 9. Please know that investments in Main Streets and the arts yield results. I want to publicly thank all the city staff from every department that has supported the Deuces, and I see a lot of people here, I don't call them names, but thank you very much.
I want to get it right this time, so let the record show that I stand here garmented in gold and treasure. Very long walk. I think you'll understand in a moment. Hello. I am very long walk in Antitime, and I am now present to create this past and future fact. To demonstrate, no, to further establish as truth that human energy is an essential part of our economy and should be budgeted as such. Consider it regularly. Already many textbooks reflect simply swapping a thing back and forth creates wealth. This thing may be anything, an abstraction, even a feeling. Just ponder the events of your own life, and you know this is a fact you've already considered and put into motion. As this too is fact. From your current perspective, great euphoria will be generated. Once it's established, we'll move it out the room. Watch, you'll see how they conducting. Okay, first, the generating part. Euphoria to consider a moment from now. Euphoria in any part of the body, in multiple, in excelsis. Some like to feel euphoria in their right hand and left foot, and then they switch, so it's in their left hand and right foot, and quickly back in their dance. Or then again, euphoria in any part of your body, exactly as you hold it. It is said that euphoria often leads to further euphoria, filling channels of the euphoria, the air and the breath that is felt down to the molecules and out to the stars and their molecules. Occasionally there's even this confidence in me, like I've personally seen it heal all rifts and catalyze the greatest of efforts. Maybe you've noticed sometimes euphoria maybe can cause your body to actually get younger, making you realize you have everything. It changes to money, to energy, to all materials things. In fact, as you probably know, the economy of our future is based on this human vitality. And yes, on that euphoria which makes us value that we sit in the cosmic house with our Father as we learn to put time together, free at last. Euphoria created and restored. One we're doing again and again. Each time you look the same and yet so different. Funny euphoria like life. You may have never thought it, but you are attractive and valuable and loved. Every good quality is yours in some sense, actually. Euphoria that tastes like victory. You smile leaping over every obstacle. The triumph of seeing right here in St. Peter, our own little Peters, where we may witness the art of the great bards of energy. Your compassion becomes boundless. Everyone's playing, your mother's smiling, see the clouds lifting, sunsets hot. What it is you desire, euphoria like that, like new love, like old love, like every love in between. It is what we learn from sadness and from joy, this euphoria mastered. A song from the oldest of days is equal to one from the distant future. We can sing it now, like colorful lights beaming from our eyes. Euphoric worlds, ever my friends, ever.
nonprofit, but for after-school programs like tutoring or something that explain the arts to the kids and music and how, you know, that can also help their future. But more importantly, one of my coworkers came to me earlier this week and he said, Charles, you know what? We're one of the most important departments because every day we go out and make the city safe. You know, we look for hazards like broken glass, potholes, broken tree limbs, or what have you. And for instance, I don't know if you guys noticed, I was here earlier. I just left on a call back to where a tree fell down and we had to go pick it up. And I was thankful, by the grace of God, I made it back to be able to come and speak again. So just want you guys to understand how important the Parks Department is. We're not just picking up trash or what have you, but the beautification of the parks, the safety of the parks, to add to the beaches, making the beaches look even better. But most of the citizens that come here and enjoy the city, it starts with the Parks Department as far as what we're doing every day. So I don't have much to say today. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Too, because I tend to be long-winded at times. So, hello, Mayor, Council, friends, neighbors, people I would like to know at one point. I just want to say that this is a really cool thing. This is the first budget council I've ever been to, and I enjoy it. I enjoy hearing public discourse, people being engaged. I do have an idea to make it more open, inclusive, and engaging to everyone. And you don't have to do it, but I think it would be cool if there were roundtable discussions. So you had 5 or 6 people get up and talk, bring up points, conversation, we break out, go to roundtables. People talk about it for 10 minutes, get up, and that way it could answer a lot of questions that I know a lot of people have, because I don't really know everything that's going on in the arts department. And I'd like to know more, and I have questions. But this is not necessarily the time for it, 3 minutes. So, like the idea of the arts department, $175,000, that's awesome. They need more. I love just the energy that brings to the community, and I think they should get it. But $275, man, that's even better. So, one of the things that I did notice is that if they're getting a grant for $11,000 and then paying the city back $12,000, I know that, you know, you're moving money around, but that just kind of comes across as creative accounting, at least in my own perspective. I think it would be better used. You already have the money there. You know they're going to have the event. If the money was actually given as a grant so they can make it bigger, more inclusive, bring more people to the table, which would drive the economic incentive and benefits us all. Roser Park. I love riding my bike, and I would love to ride my bike through Roser Park. But I don't think the answer to that is making a massive bike trail. I think if the sidewalk was just improved, maybe widened just slightly, there's already a nice sidewalk that goes through there. I would like to ride on it, but there's dips and jumps and all sorts of stuff, and that would kill me and my bike. And I don't want to have that happen. You know, part of the thing that the $2.1 million, if that was reinvested, you could put lights in other parts of the trail, increase overall safety, bring more people out to the trail as opposed to putting all the money there. Just some ideas. The apprenticeship program, I think that's awesome. I think you should invest in it because I think that is expanding the continuity of your vision as a council, as a mayor. I was highly involved with student government at USF St. Pete, and one of the things that my peers and I would focus on and discuss was the ideas that we had and how we can carry them forward. And I think the apprenticeship program you have the opportunity to do, 245, is if you invest in the younger people, you get them engaged within the community in multiple different locations. So maintaining our parks. All right. So maintaining our parks and investing in our arts and all that sort of stuff. The poem was pretty cool. Just shows how inclusive we are.
My name's Bruce Nissen. I live in Duensing. I really hope you'll pay attention to this handout from People's Budget Review. Over 1,000 people responded to this survey that comes to the results that you have here. So I really think that the rethinking community wealth and the concept of rethinking our community wealth and the spirit that you see in terms of the responses that people gave here, I think are really critical in your decisions, both to you, Mayor Kriseman, and also to you, City Council, as you're looking over the budget and figuring out ways it might be amended and or approved. And if you will look at this, you will see that there's a very strong sentiment here coming through on all this of emphasis on the community wealth. It's the wealth that we have as communities. And a number of projects here with very, very strong support. And I might point out also that an awful lot of these projects, particularly the ones on the back, cost very, very little. Very, very little expense in the budget. But they will increase and build our community wealth as a community and build a greater sense of community. I think we're getting a reorientation to the way we look at the budget from simply, let's just serve certain things, but let's make sure that the services and the things we provide actually build community, the sense of community, the seamless community. The things that people have been talking about here tonight, I was marking them down as people spoke, and I think they fit very, very well into this framework that the People's Budget Review has put forward here and all that. There's an incredible outpouring from the arts community here, obviously. You heard that tonight for sure. And also some really, really big ones, obviously, with this curbside recycling. People have a very strong preference, it's obvious, if it can be done in-house, and definitely whether in or out-house or out, be done with living wages, and not the kind of jobs that actually drag down our community, the ones that actually build our community and the rest. Community gardening and urban agriculture got real support. The idea of an apprenticeship program in the city, because the city can provide quality jobs to everybody, came up repeatedly here. And I think it's something that helped people very, very strongly build into your plans and into your budget. And then there were just a whole variety of other things here that came up. And one thing that obviously was a dissident thing, which is the Rosa Park Trail thing. I don't know much about that one, but I really hope that both the city administration and the city council will relook at that. Because indeed, if you could free up resources from that, if it is something that's not building our community, it's going to actually help to destroy the community or something, and you can find some savings from that. There's a whole lot of other projects here that obviously people feel need to be supported. The last thing I guess I want to say is to people who came here tonight, if you really like this idea of the way we're giving input and having influence over the way this budget is built, and I can tell we do because every time I come, it's nice to see a huge turnout and all the rest. If you'd like to see that extended, the People's Budget Review for next year, for this coming year, is going to be working on getting signatures on the ballot for a referendum to put on up to 3% of the city budget could actually be designed and developed by the people themselves. They'll be out here and on the way out if people want to sign that particular
Good evening. I'll keep this brief. I haven't prepared anything really formal, but I felt I would be remiss if I didn't lend my voice. My name is Mitzi Gordon. I am the Executive Director of Creative Pinellas. We are Pinellas County's nonprofit arts agency. I also have recently moved to St. Petersburg. Previously worked here in the development department at the Salvador Dali Museum during the capital campaign and construction as well as grand opening phase of the new museum. So felt very close to this community. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to move here when I began my work as the Director of Creative Pinellas. Incidentally, I moved to Rosa Park. And I love the neighborhood, and I want to say I support the comments made here this evening to preserve that neighborhood in its natural state. I certainly intend to stay there for a long time. However, I'm here just to briefly lend my support also to the comments made by my colleagues in the arts tonight. My work with Creative Pinellas, as the name might suggest, takes me all over the county, and I meet with people who work in all capacities of the arts, from working artists to dedicated volunteers to administrators and board members. And I see, as I speak with them and see the impact that their projects have firsthand, what impact the arts has on business and economic community at all levels. The commitment that you've shown thus far is significant and valuable. valued. And I would like to echo the comments made here this evening by my creative contemporaries and urge you to continue to increase support for the arts and see firsthand yourself how it drives economic development. Thank you.
The final speaker for tonight is Deborah Kelly.
We're not cheering because you're the final, you're cheering.
I know you're cheering because it's the last person who has the last word. Okay, I want to say, I've been taking notes all night. I want to say thank you, Mayor. Thank you, all of the council members. The arts, you've heard a lot about us. I don't want to repeat anything, but I want to say things. I want to say we're a stool in a way. First of all, I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to the People's Budget. Y'all are awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I'm so inspired by your organization, by what you put together, and by your voice to the people of this community. The arts are so in alignment with your goals, and we want to support you and be a part of that. I also want to say, save Rosa Parks, but we'll take your money. We'll be happy to have some of that come to us. Now, back to our stool. I want to say that you've heard a lot of talk about different things in the arts, and I want to try to pull this together, and then I want to read one thing to you, which I wrote at the end here, so please, please, please let me read this one thing. I'm going to go scroll down to it. It's a stool, okay? Think about a stool. A stool will fall down if one of the legs comes out from under it. The arts community, which has been coming together in a way that I've never seen. I've lived all over the world. I grew up here. I grew up in Seminole. I left because I couldn't make a living in the arts. I came back in 2005. I moved home. I'm here. I love my city. I love everything about living in St. Petersburg. It is a shining light. It can be so much, so much. And all of these people are here to tell you what they want to do for it. The stool for the arts is this. We need infrastructure in the city, in the Office of Cultural Affairs. Right now, the Office of Cultural Affairs is one person who's running everything, all the arts. She's juggling. I always laugh at her and say, she's juggling, she's walking a tightrope, she's got plates going in the air. Everyone tries to help in the community, tries to help and support Elizabeth, but Elizabeth has brought this community together. You have such an asset. I ask this new administration to embrace her. She has embraced us, she has supported us, and she has been such a voice for us. She has allowed the arts. She has allowed the arts community. She was at those art funding meetings 4 years ago when many of you who are still sitting here were a part of that arts funding that came up with the idea of creating the Arts Alliance. And for the last 2 years, you all put money. You put $125,000 towards creating the Arts Alliance, and look what it's done for this community. You have yourselves to thank for that. That part of the stool needs to continue. That agency is ready to step up. That agency is ready to support the entire community, to bring in and fill the gaps that exist because the for-profit, the galleries, and the arts in this community. That's another part. So you have to have infrastructure in the city, and you have to have that piece of the stool there. And the other thing is arts funding. You heard so many people say to you, the arts grants are so important. We have more organizations come to the table. Why? Because they need the funding. They need the help. So we need 3 things. We need support and infrastructure on the city side to partner with the city. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My last thing to say is, think about what the mayor said at the beginning of tonight. Where will all of you be in 5 years, and what did you do tonight that made a difference? And are you going to be standing here 5 years from now proud to have done what you did? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all very, very much for your comments, and I will tell you that if you've been paying attention to us, we've been writing notes and stuff, and I'm going to start down at the other end. Each one of us has something we want to say. We're going to try to keep it to our 3 minutes also, because I know the bewitching hour. And starting down at the end, Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you for coming. The input that we received from the citizens is obviously very important, and I hope you continue to do that. I'm going to keep this short because I've been sitting next to Mr. Nurse and listening to his stomach growl.
How many people have not had dinner yet?
Everybody.
I heard you.
First of all, thank you. Thanks to each and every one of you who took the time to attend tonight, to speak, to prepare your comments. Every single one of the speakers, you had something original, insightful, constructive to say, and I listened to every word of it and jotted down every word, even the poem, Alex. This is your city. We are your city hall, your representatives. This is your recreation center, your budget. So thank you for changing the conversation about the budget and the city. Thank you for the constructive and cooperative spirit that you bring. And pulling back the curtain to look at the special roles and services that your government provides for all of us. I've heard tonight a lot of insight about the value of the arts in many numerous ways, but also in pulling back that curtain, we are starting to hear a lot more conversation about the value of things like the living wage, in-house recycling, even once-a-week paychecks versus bi-weekly paychecks. So this is all what makes tonight in the public engagement, civic engagement process so important, so valuable, and thank you for taking your time tonight to be a part of it. And I think there's great things that we'll all continue to accomplish together with these types of pragmatic, practical, and visionary discussions. And I can't say enough that we're all in this together, and look forward to working with you more. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just say thank you for coming out tonight. I do want to address one thing. I wasn't even going to say anything, but let's talk about the Rahal estate for a second since that came up. Let's talk about a block that has Sam Rahal on one end, the gentleman that owns Channel 10 that had a whole broadcasting company. But right at the end of that block, which if people spent a little more time there, they would know, but they don't sometimes, is low-income apartments. And a neighborhood that I have not one peep about it. A neighborhood that welcomes Boley with chronically homeless and chronically mentally ill right down the block from Sam Rahal. That's a neighborhood that I think is doing something right. And as far as process, here's all I'm going to say about it. There's 2 items up tomorrow from the Wiki Wachi Fund. There is a process in place. We will spend $1.5 million using a process, and then we will turn right back around and say, when it comes to the Rahal estate, that's a flawed process. The process isn't flawed. There's something else at work there, and that's not, just watch it, because that's exactly what we're going to do tomorrow. So if the process is flawed, you don't use it at all. The Rahal estate came not from me. That idea didn't come from me. It came from the neighborhood association. It is supported by multiple neighborhood associations, multiple environmental groups, multiple people. To me, that's a good process. To me, that's an inclusive process. So the idea that somehow we have a flawed process, that something was done inappropriately, could we improve it? Okay, let's improve it. But let's not use that exact same process to spend $1.5 million and turn around and use process against people to say it's a bad process. Because if it's a bad process, we shouldn't do anything with it. So thank you for coming. I will say that the Rahal estate is the first time that anybody has attempted to use Wiki Wachi funds for an environmental purpose, and that's not something I'm going to let go of. I think it's the right thing to do. And I think a neighborhood that can accommodate Sam Rahal on one end and chronically mentally ill from Boley on the other end is a neighborhood that should have support from the city and not criticism. And I'm going to keep advocating for them. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you for being here, and it was great to hear everyone's comments. I see somebody back there with a Keep St. Pete local shirt on, and You know, one of the things that I said over and over again is that, you know, one of the things that makes St. Pete great is the people that live here. And I know St. Pete Local did a cover photo the other day that says something about our city, what it is because of the people who make it up. And I think that's true. So we do have competing interests, but I can't agree more that investing in our human capital is absolutely the right thing to do. That means our artists, that means our employees. I know our employees are working hard and making this city great. You know, Winnie is really right. The sun is shining here, and it's a new city. And you can even hear that in the tenor and focus of the People's Budget Review. I know I commented on that last time. I do think that many of the recommendations that turned up in the survey are completely doable. I try to live my life by this philosophy that we already have everything we need. And I think this really speaks to that we have lots of assets and we just need to help leverage them. So you have my commitment to do that, and especially when it's building community. And I just want to say thank you. You know, this is the last of 3 meetings. Every meeting is inspiring and refreshing, and I really feel a sense of unity across our entire city. And a lot of you are the reason for that, so thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out. I counted 46 cards and about 40 people that spoke. And I just want to leave you with this. Our first meeting, our first Thursday this month meeting, we got a quarterly police update. And over the last 9 months, the fiscal year, or 8 months, from October 1st to June, I think it was 3rd or June 5th when we had our meeting, we've arrested approximately 1,170 juveniles. Now, the reason I bring that up because whereas you see competing interests, I see opportunities and partnerships to an end. We have a lot of young people also being suspended out of school to the street corners to commit more crime and deal drugs and do God knows what else. I can see a vision that maybe they can go spend some time in some of these art places that might want to educate the youth. I mean, instead of just hanging around the house and having the parents worry about them being home 3 or 4 hours or whatever, or, you know, just stuff more productive. As you know, we didn't get 1.6 million that was in the budget, and the governor saw fit to cut it out. I don't know for what reason. Some say politics. I say, you know, going back and forth to Tallahassee every year, lobbying for the juvenile, and knowing that there's $185 million in FY14 budget for juvenile jail beds, and know that when he vetoed the 1.6 million for the city of St. Pete, he also approved for FY15 $196 million for juvenile jail beds. That tells me that the kids will work more locked up and given opportunities to realize their full potential. Now the Bible says train up a child. Didn't say a black child, didn't say a white child, didn't say your child or my child. But train up a child in the way he should go. We have a responsibility. We have a moral obligation to make sure that we raise up the future, because that's what they are. I'm 50 years old. I think in another 50 years I probably won't even be here. But my grandkids will, and their grandkids will. We have a beautiful city. We do. I was born and raised right in this city. Had lunch down at Bevel Robbins today and was talking about the pier and also the impending ferry service that we probably will be getting in the next short 2 years. We're surrounded by water. Some of this stuff is common sense. But if we don't make full opportunities or create opportunities for these young people, it's going to be dire consequences to pay. It is. It costs too much to lock them up. That 1170 I just told you about, if you divide it by 8, it comes out to 147 juveniles every month without fail. When they get out to the Pinellas County Jail for Children, because that's what it is, it's not a detention center, it's a jail. They walk like a duck, quack like a duck, they walk like a duck. I'm going to call it a duck. I know it sounds good as a detention center, but it costs approximately $84 every time you take a kid out there. And our policy, our current policy is take every juvenile out there. The cost of the officer to drive them out there is $125. So the $211 times $147, okay, is $30,000 or about $31,000 a month. This is the cost. So that's the cost of sustaining that poverty, instead of giving them opportunities for after-school jobs, summer jobs, and workforce training. That's what that money was going toward. But we do approve more money to lock them up. I just can't figure it out. Because once they get beyond that baking age of 17 to become 18, now they're in the adult jail system. And these are the ones we hear people talk about, waive the requirements for criminal history on applications or any criminal offense you may have. You're having all that because you're setting them up to fail. Florida is the only state that relinquished juvenile records. What that means is what these young people do now, the same stuff that we did when we were juveniles, it's now been criminalized for cash. And because of that, they cannot participate in a lot of the programs that we offer to try to save those very kids. Thank you.
Okay, before I let the mayor speak, I'll just say I want to thank all of you. And, you know, the purpose of the meeting tonight was to hear you, and we have heard you. I went back to my notes on previous meetings, and there's a lot of similarities. I mean, we're speaking, we know about the arts. Trust me. We met individually with the Arts Alliance and with various artists. I mean, whenever the budget comes up, it's like you guys are on point. I mean, we get flooded, and it's great because we do understand the value. And it is a tremendous economic generator for our city. And we need to do a better job. That is very clear. There are so many other things, you know. And unfortunately, if you, as Mr. Greene said in his presentation at the beginning about, you know, it's our budget, your family budget, you know how difficult that is. Well, multiply that, that's what we have to do for the city budget, and you can understand there are some priorities that have to be met. And we try to touch everybody, and we hopefully we do. Some get a little more than others, and you know, you know, as my mom used to say, can't get blood out of the turnip. You know, there's only so much there, and we do try. And rather than stand on a soapbox and preach to you about some issue, I'm just going to tell you that we have heard you, and we have. When you see the mayor's budget, that will reflect it. You have another couple of weeks when that'll be presented to us, and it'll be maybe some tweaking and so forth in there, but it is what it is. And it's an awesome job. It's a tremendous responsibility. You know, when you have to rely on our fellow citizens, you know, property taxes and things like that, you know, that fluctuates. And I'd just like to have your household budget. You know, you think you're getting 5%, all of a sudden you get 1% or 2%. I mean, you know, it's not as easy as it looks. But we hear you, and trust me when I tell you that I'm sitting over here in the mayor, I don't want to steal his thunder, but he's taking great notes. He was lost. And you know, I took notes. This is a lot more detailed than mine, but it's, you know, we really do hear you. And I really do appreciate, and people ask me all the time about, you know, what's it like to be on city council. This is actually my favorite part. This and when we have open forum, because it gives you an opportunity to speak. And it's not like we're sitting there putting our fingers in our ears. We're listening. We hear you. And I thank you very much for coming. Without further ado, I'm going to let Mayor Kriseman.
Before you introduce the mayor, could I have just one quick
The 3 minutes was used, but we'll let you.
Elder privilege. Thank you for not having candy on the council table.
That was Mr. Curtis. By the way,
Oh, well.
Mr. Curtis had to leave, and he apologized. His dad is very ill, and he had to go home and put his bed.
Some sympathy.
So he apologized.
But one other point on elder privilege is, you've met with the arts people a lot, and that's wonderful. When are you going to come to my garden and visit the gardens?
As you said earlier, my brother Fred will poke me there.
Well, I too want to to thank everybody for coming out tonight and sharing, and I did take, I guess, about 4 pages of notes. Tom Lally, I don't see Tom. He may have left. But Tom talked about grants, and we are in agreement with Tom. We do need to step it up. We're looking to retain area-specific grant writers. We recognize there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to grant dollars, and that is something we are looking at pursuing as we move down the road, recognizing the opportunity that's there. Jeff Shore, I know Jeff's also left, but Jeff talked about, one of the things he talked about aside from arts funding was homelessness, and Dr. Marbutt. And I thought Dr. Marbutt's comments and his findings and recommendations were dead on. And we are looking at ways of putting some funding in the budget to try and address some of those recommendations that he made so that we can have an impact on our homeless community in a positive way that doesn't just look to arrest but looks to try and bring a hand up for those folks. We also heard Maria and a number of other people tonight talk about apprenticeship academies and apprenticeship programs. And that is something we are, and my administration and I know council too, we're all committed to apprenticeship programs. We've had discussions with trade unions on looking at partnerships with PTEC. We have been speaking with the federal government, both the Department of Labor and the Vice President's office, about funding. We certainly had some hopes that we might have received that funding from the state, because it's supposed to be about jobs. At least that's the mantra, but apparently it's not jobs in St. Pete. Maybe it's jobs somewhere else. But we are committed to trying to get an apprenticeship program off the ground and fully functioning here in St. Pete. And the arts funding, we're going to continue to look for funding opportunities. I don't see Lindsay here from Creative Pinellas, but if she was here, and if those who are still here from the arts community will pass on to her, please tell her to lobby the county too, because I don't believe their budget has $1 for arts funding in it. And if it's truly going to be a city of the arts, we are a part of Pinellas County, it would be helpful if the county stepped up in addition to us. And then the last thing I want to mention is tomorrow night there are opportunities for all of you to be further involved in your city. From 5 to 7 at the Coliseum, you have an opportunity to meet all 4 of our candidates for police chief. It's going to be a very informal meet and greet session where they'll be set up and you have the opportunity to go in and just meet them, ask them questions. Want to encourage you to do that and provide your feedback to me, because I'm interested in knowing what you see in those candidates, who you like, what the strengths and weaknesses of them are. So that'll be again tomorrow night from 5 to 7. And at Childs Park, tomorrow night beginning at 7 p.m. is the first meeting of the peer working group with the community. Again, this is it, folks. This set of meetings is it. If you want to have a say on what's going to happen at the pier, what it's going to do, and ultimately what it'll look like, please don't pass up this opportunity, because there isn't going to be a third bite at this apple. After this, we're going to get something done. So please take advantage of the opportunity. There will be several other meetings of that working group that you can also, if you can't go to this first one, on the 24th at the Coliseum, on the 26th at Roberts Rec Center, the 30th at Lake Vista, and on July 2nd at JWK. So there will be plenty of opportunities. Take advantage of it. And again, thank you all so much for coming out.
Very much. Everybody enjoy the rest of your evening.
Poet, yeah. Fortunately, at least got to finish the poem.
All right, Mr. Thomas Greene at tom.greene@stpete.org. Send your questions to him.